Hello, good evening everyone, and welcome to this Terra Madre Forum on urban food forest. Just before we start, I'd like to give you some technical information about this event, because the forum is held in a webinar mode, so the microphones and the cameras of the public are turned off. The first part of the forum will be dedicated to the speakers' interventions, while in the last 15 minutes, we will give space to the audience questions. A simultaneous translation into Italian, English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian will be available for those who follow us on Zoom. And you can activate it by clicking the desired language on the globe icon just above. And for Italian, please select Korean. I remind you that we are also streaming live on the Terra Madre Salone del Gusto website and on the Slow Food YouTube channel. So you can send your questions using the chat. Well, I will then introduce you to the moderator of this forum, Fabio Salbitano. Fabio is a researcher and associate professor at the Department of Environmental and Forestry Sciences and Technologies of the University of Florence. And this is also a member of the main national and international scientific societies and organizations in the field of forest environment. So I therefore pass the floor to him, and I wish you all a good listening.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everybody. Hope that you come from many parts of the world, so we'll have a very global forum these days. I just want to start with just some few words about what is urban food forest and which is the meaning for contemporary and future cities. But I go back to the very beginning. It is rather significant that one of the very first landscape representations in our history concern a collection of fruit trees. That was the Garden of Nebamon in Thebes 3,500 years ago in ancient Egypt. The spaces dedicated to fruit trees and vegetable gardens have made the history of cities. Then just during the Industrial Revolution, some decades ago, we can say, we had a radical change in the places of living. The spaces of the daily edible, the food of every day, are gradually excluded from cities. But this represents a sort of physical, mental, and educational separation between production of food and consumption that was never experienced before in the history of the human beings. In contemporary urban planning and above all in the concrete life of people and communities, there is a growing interest in new ways of integrating the multiple benefits offered by ecological systems. Urban food forests are inspired by the theories of garden cities, starting at the beginning of the 20th century. And the urban food forest itself is an emerging component of the contemporary cities. But what the urban food forests have in common with the Lebanon garden of ancient Egypt or with the medieval orchard of the Renaissance gardens? Very much indeed. But the urban food forests go much further. There are areas in which to develop permaculture crops without mass inputs of external energy, polycyclic and multi-layered. This is the original definition. And we have a very wide range of experiences all over the world in that. The urban food forests are designed and managed to imitate natural forest structure. And this is the strength of them, alongside food production with ecological recovery and improvement of social cohesion, strengthening of communities and permanent environmental education. These socio-ecological systems and urban food forests are, let's say, the soul of socio-ecological systems. So it's therefore necessary to know well the cycle of functioning plants, but even more to know people and their experiences. In this way, the urban food forest will be able to effectively contribute to the environmental, food, and social uncertainties of the cities of the Anthropocene. So tonight, this evening, we will try to approach the experiences and have a wide picture, a view of them with some friends from different parts of the world, from Europe to India, from Brazil to Venezuela, and even different perspectives, different experiences, from the academic experience, the social and anthropological one, from the active perspective of association or concrete experiences, to more interpretation, which is the significance of urban food forests and of food in cities as a whole. So as first, I would like to say that we will share these experiences with Anna Maria Rumiska from Poland, with Licia Romero from Venezuela, with Neide Rigu from Brazil, with Gaurav Guriar from India. And I think that it's time to give the floor to our first guest, Licia Romero from Venezuela. She's a professor and researcher of the University of Los Andes, of the University Politécnica Territorial de Mérida, and the Simón Rodríguez Experimental University in the areas of applied ecology, development, and sustainability, agroecology, and food sovereignty. Licia as well founded the Mano a Mano Intercambio Ecologico, and is a member of the CLACSO of a political agroecology working group, of the academic network in Terra Madre, and of the Slow Food International Organization. So, Licia, the floor is yours, and please give us your contribution and spirit. Thank you very much.
Gracias, buenas tardes, espero que me estén escuchando bien. Un gusto estar acá en la tarde de hoy, compartiendo esta oportunidad maravillosa de contarles nuestra experiencia que llamamos la retoma de los bosques cafetaleros andinos en Mérida, Venezuela, como bosques alimentarios. Bueno, quisiera comenzar contándoles que estos bosques cafetaleros de los que vamos a hablar tienen su origen en Venezuela, durante en la particular en los Andes de Venezuela, en un momento muy importante en el que se está gestando todo el proceso de independencia en Venezuela en el siglo XIX, y fue una fuente de inspiración. De hecho, muchos de nuestros héroes y heroínas de la independencia vienen de esta historia de la instauración y florecimiento del café, que llegó a ser durante esa época y luego en la etapa inmediata post-independencia y las primeras décadas del siglo XX, un importante cultivo que incluso formó parte central de la economía de exportación de los productos agrícolas en Venezuela. ¿Cómo funcionaba este sistema cafetalero andino? Fue el sistema de sustitución de un ecosistema original que nosotros llamamos la selva caducifolia andina. ¿Y por qué se llama selva caducifolia andina? Porque es un sistema de alta diversidad, multiestratos, en el que sus especies arbóreas de mayor altitud que dominan el dosel son especies que pierden sus hojas en la época seca. Digamos, lo que nosotros llamamos la estación de verano no es una estación térmica, sino hídrica. Y en ese momento, esas especies del dosel que dominan el dosel pierden las hojas y permiten una entrada de luz que activa la fenología y la productividad de todos los estratos inferiores del sotobosque, incluso del suelo del bosque. La sustitución de estas selvas originales caducifolias por los sistemas cafetaleros, si bien tuvo un impacto importante en la biodiversidad original, conservó el funcionamiento y la estructura de este ecosistema original. De manera que entonces era un sistema cafetalero que incluso era exportador, pero no era monoproductor. Es un sistema altamente diverso que produce en distintos estratos y que aprovecha incluso las especies originales del bosque, que son muchas leguminosas, para no solo aprovechar esta entrada de luz en la época seca, sino para generar un sistema sustentable de alimentación del mantillo y de la materia orgánica del suelo con especies que enriquecen el suelo. Y el café venezolano fue creado y criado en este sistema muy sustentable, muy diverso, que además en el caso de los Andes venezolanos, esta instauración entre los 700 metros a los 1800 metros sobre el nivel del mar estuvo protagonizada por familias, por pequeñas explotaciones, por la pequeña y mediana agricultura, por la agricultura familiar. Lo que fue el devenir de la historia económica de Venezuela al convertirse en país petrolero tuvo un fuerte impacto sobre estos sistemas cafetaleros y dejaron de tener ese protagonismo económico. De hecho, sufrieron una fuerte depresión y un proceso de migración de familias y de miembros de familias hacia las ciudades, quedando como un sistema delictual muy deprimido, y que comenzó, en el caso de la ciudad de Mérida, que está ubicada dentro de ese piso a los 1600 metros, formando parte de relictos, de patios de casa y en las afueras de la ciudad como parte de las pequeñas unidades de producción que subsistían en las afueras de la ciudad. En este momento, nosotros, pues, nuestra iniciativa está organizada alrededor de una organización que se llama Mano a Mano Intercambio Agroecológico. Esa es una organización que ya tiene 10 años de existencia y que se encarga de conectar familias productoras en la periferia y en el campo con familias consumidoras de la ciudad de Mérida. Esas familias consumidoras además están orientadas hacia la idea de construir un sistema alimentario, de tener fuentes de alimentos, alimentos de verdad, alimentos que sean respetuosos con el ambiente y que son producidas por estas familias que están en transición hacia sistemas agroecológicos y que han encontrado en la retoma de estos bosques cafetaleros un espacio muy propicio para jugar un papel en la diversificación y en la oferta alimentaria actual, sobre todo en el marco de la crisis económica y de la fractura y total fracaso del modelo alimentario que se instauró en la Venezuela petrolera y que es un modelo alimentario que nos tiene sometidos a ser un país rico con muchas posibilidades alimentarias, pero en realidad muy pobre porque depende de importar mercancías alimentarias de muy baja calidad en los mercados internacionales. Entonces, ese sistema, al fracasar por toda la debacle petrolera y política que tiene Venezuela actualmente, ha llevado a una respuesta desde la agricultura familiar para rescatar estos sistemas históricos y usarlos como espacios para diversificar y crear nuevas fuentes de alimentos frescos y procesados. Entonces, en esta retoma, y en el caso de nuestra organización Mano a Mano, es interesante ver cómo estos bosques cafetaleros están siendo enriquecidos en sus distintos estratos, o sea, mantiene esa idea de la productividad a lo largo de una serie de estratos verticales y enriquece, en primer lugar, el dosel con árboles leguminosos, ¿verdad? Pero comestibles, como es el caso del chachafruto, que ofrece una fuente proteica muy interesante para alimentación humana y animal, y además cumple con la función de no competir con las especies del sotobosque, donde pues, encontramos entonces el café, o podemos encontrar especies como el yacón, que es un tubérculo dulce que puede ser consumido en forma fresca o puede ser procesado para obtener una miel muy importante, muy buena, porque puede ser consumida por las personas que sufren de diabetes. En el sotobosque, tanto dentro del bosque como en las áreas descubiertas, porque el sistema maneja los dos tipos de espacios, el espacio donde dominan los árboles, pero también el espacio descubierto sin árboles, donde hay cultivos de ciclo corto, y que requieren de mayor iluminación, se está repoblando y diversificando con una serie de tubérculos como el ocumo y la batata, que también son muy interesantes porque vienen a ser fuente no solo de alimentos frescos, sino de materia prima para procesar y producir harinas, que son precisamente una de las principales fuentes alimentarias que fue boicoteada por la agroindustria alimentaria corporativa para presionar a los venezolanos con hambre a través de los supermercados. Entonces la respuesta de la agricultura familiar ha sido enriquecer estos bosques alimentarios con estos tubérculos y procesarlos para producir harinas y producir lo que para uno de nuestros alimentos favoritos en Venezuela, que es las arepas, pero esta vez enriquecidas no solo con maíz, sino con estas harinas de origen que vienen de los tubérculos. Y interesante también la introducción de una especie de origen andino, como es la sacha inchi, como planta trepadora que ocupa el espacio vertical y que es una fuente para un excelente aceite y para consumir de diversas formas con altos niveles nutricionales. Entonces, dentro de nuestra red, donde hacemos certificación agroecológica participativa, el uso diversificado de este sistema altamente diverso, como la presencia como espacio de conservación, porque mejora el clima, el microclima debajo de estos árboles, baja los niveles de pérdida del suelo por evapotranspiración. Nos parece muy importante relevarlo en el marco de esta red y de este evento en la que se está poniendo de relieve las iniciativas del papel de los bosques para la alimentación. Y decirles por último que no es solo en el espacio andino y cafetalero donde está ocurriendo esta reivindicación de los bosques alimentarios, sino que es un fenómeno nacional, puesto que en el resto de Venezuela otros bosques de menor altitud están siendo reivindicados y retomados por la agricultura campesina e indígena, particularmente lo que llaman el conuco en su fase arbórea. El conuco siempre fue conocido y se le hizo muy mala propaganda desde la agronomía de la Revolución Verde por su fase de desmonte del bosque, pero nunca fue publicitado lo que es su fase más rica y más importante, que es la fase de recuperación del bosque, en la que funciona como fuente de alimentos, como espacio de espiritualidad y como semillero de las agriculturas indígenas. Entonces, un fenómeno nacional, el cual queremos poner a la orden y exponer dentro de esta revelación y esta celebración de la amplitud que está tomando el movimiento de los bosques alimentarios. Muchas gracias, quedo a la orden para continuar con este rico diálogo.
Thank you very much, Licha. Gracias. It's really amazing, this experience. It's so valuable. Also because it's addressed to a culture like coffee, crop like coffee, that is one of the economic bigs in the world. So trying to get sustainability and cultural values, spiritual values, and a so nice agroecological approach to that is absolutely central, fundamental. Thank you again, Lisa. And I remind to the people that if you want to pose a question to Licha and to the other speaker later, you can just pose a question in the chat, and then we collect them, and then try to have answers at the end of their contributions. So now it's time to fly back to Europe, and it's the turn of Anna Rumiska, Poland. Anna, she's the leader of a slow food dolny class in Poland, professor at the Department of Cultural Anthropology of Wrocław. She has a very outstanding experience in cultural anthropology, and this is exactly what we need to listen. So, Anna, the floor is yours.
Do you hear me? Is it okay?
Anna, perfectly.
Yes.
It's okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank you very much. I'm not a professor, as I noted before to Elena. So I'm going to tell a few words about urban forests. I mean, urban regarding European towns, which I represent. I live in a town called Wrocław, and it's in southwest Poland. I'm a cultural anthropologist, and I'm a forager, a cook, and a researcher. And from my previous profession, I'm an architect, also designing green landscape, green areas. So now I turned into food anthropology. I mean, now it's already 20 or 15 years. And regarding urban food forest, well, we should first say regarding, of course, Wrocław and similar towns in Central, Eastern, and Northern and Western Europe. Regarding these towns, we divide areas, green areas, into public and private. This is the main division, which generates allowance to forage plants. Because I'm going to say about foraging in order to eat. So foraging food plants, edible plants. Not all the plants are edible. We, of course, are aware of it. But many of plants present in green areas, in urban areas, they are edible. And actually, we could eat it, but we cannot encourage anybody now. Legally, we cannot encourage anybody to eat it because first, it is not legally food according to Codex Alimentarius, the document made by European Union, which is obligatory for producers. And the second, people are afraid of foraging food which is called wild. And me as a cultural anthropologist, I always underline the meaning of the word wild, because this word means dangerous, unsafe, uncontrolled, and actually very pessimistic meaning. And that's what I try to struggle, I try to fight somehow in our activity to underline then what was food before, many years ago, is not food now. And this is very important cultural change. which makes people not to forage edible plants. In Wrocław, in our town, we have a sort of a pro-ecological policy, which means that we try to increase the amount of forests in the town within the boundaries. But this doesn't mean automatically that we provide food forests, because it's not the same issue, it's not the same topic. So the work to do, I think, but it's not only on the municipality level, but it's very important to make it on the governmental or the country-wide level. It is to create a law which allows people to forage food in urban forests. And I don't want to talk very much theoretically. I'd like to, because probably many people are interested, what food actually can we forage in forests, in urban forests? So I, together with our colleagues, we prepared a small table with a part of meals that can be composed of, that are actually composed of foraged food. What we do, and a few words more, what we do on everyday basis, we forage plants, and me personally, I'm focused on leaves. I have personal sympathy for leaves. The second position is for fruits and seeds. Next, for roots, underground part, because I'm lazy and I don't want to dig too much. Besides, if we dig roots out, we remove the plant in a very part of it. So what can we eat? I will now try to switch to the okay, just to show you the table, all right? Here is the, do you hear me? Is it okay? Yeah. Here's just a sample of food made of foraged resources, made of nearby urban forest, which is very important. It's urban area. And I'd like to underline that urban doesn't mean it's dirty and it's polluted, because very often rural areas in countryside, they are much more polluted with, let's say, for example, glyphosate and all the herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides. So this is urban food, actually. This is all made of urban food and also of cultivated products. And what we have to decide each time we collect food, we have to decide how we combine cultivated products and uncultivated products. I will not call them wild, because I find them much more safe, healthy, and tamed than the food-like products that we can buy in stores, in market mall, in market supermarkets. So here you have, we call it kopytka. In Poland, we call it kopytka, but in Italy, you call it gnocchi. But they are made with this mousse, with this gąszcz, as we call it in Poland. It's made of allium, one of the species of allium. This is amazing gąszcz also. It's kind of spread or mousse or cream made of Cornelian cherry, but by our friend Mariusz Rybak, who is also a Slow Food member and our Convivium member. This is made of moles queens. These are beautiful garlic pears, which we collect, and there is a lot of work to do to separate them, but they are delicious. This is now, it's slow blackthorn fruits, which are lacto-fermented, because we lacto-ferment a lot of products, and bread made of emmer wheat, organic emmer wheat from our farmer from the region, which is mixed with ground elder powder. Here you see the fresh leaves that we forage today, dandelion, wood avens, chives, and stinging nettle. And we can also eat it as potherb. Here we have acetic ferments, so it's called vinegar. We call it acetum from Latin. So it's acetic fermentation of raw material. Here we have the lactoferments of sloe, blackthorn, hawthorn, gooseweed, horseradish stems. This is ground elder or goutweed, and cornelian cherry plus blackthorn. And last but not least, a very important thing, which is wine made of so-called wild grapes. This is hops, dried already, prepared for making beer, and some dry flowers, which is elderberry tree and knapweed, and also a very nice spice seeds, hogweed seeds, common hogweed, which makes people really afraid of foraging. Okay, so I don't know how much time I have. Please let me know.
1 minute.
Okay, so here I want to show you also the educational materials which we made with dried plants. And you can also, we provided in so-called slow foraging manual, which is available in our Facebook profile or via Facebook profile, which is the PDF ebook. And to resume it somehow, to sum up, I think it's necessary to make people first aware of what is edible in urban area, and the second, provide suitable regulations, proper law to make people forage legally. I think I will sum up it now here. Finish now.
Thank you very much, and please.
Thank you.
I would say continue or stop, because my throat is watering, my mouth is watering.
Me too. I'm hungry too.
But I think it's very, very
Thank you.
important and central what you brought as message. First of all, from a terminological point of view, we learned that urban is not too bad, but can be very good and also very delicate and full of taste. And same, we learned that wild can be negative. And sometimes we have this shift of going to wild in a sort of, let's say, symbolic way, but it's something that is very distant from our daily life. And I think that your contribution about bringing anthropology as an alive matter, not something that is just part of our history, is key for the next future for all us. So thank you again, Anna, and we go to the next. And again, we take the flight to Latin America again, and we go to Brazil with Neide Rigo. Neide is a nutritionist from the School of Public Health, and her research focuses on the unconventional food species, ingredients that are little known, forgotten, or devalued in their cultivation and in the way they can be prepared. She's a blogger, the author of the Comce, and columnist of the Paladar section of the press of Estado de São Paulo. So, Neide, the floor is yours, and we want to know your experience. We are very curious of that. Thank you.
Olá, boa tarde, boa noite. É prazer enorme estar aqui com vocês e eu estou até emocionada assim, de ouvir a a Lítia e a Ana especialmente, que tem um trabalho muito parecido com o meu, assim, de cozinhar espécies não convencionais e forragear pelo espaço urbano. Eu fico muito feliz de saber que pessoas tão distantes, né, que estão agora nessa sala, que a gente é unido por uma causa maior e não apenas pela pandemia, né, que nos une nesse momento no mundo, mas que a gente busca uma vida melhor entre as pessoas que estão ao nosso redor. Eu sou nutricionista de formação, mas não trabalho exatamente como nutricionista, e sim como cronista, e escrevo sobre alimentos para um jornal, o Estado de São Paulo. Tenho um blog desde 2006, onde eu falo dessas espécies negligenciadas, espécies não convencionais. Eu procuro divulgar, e também no Instagram e no blog. E tenho antes da pandemia, um dos meus trabalhos era fazer mensalmente um grupo de forrageio pelas ruas do meu bairro. Então, chama Punk na City. No Brasil, a sigla Punk quer dizer Plantas Alimentícias Não Convencionais. Então, a ideia era levar o grupo para conhecer todas as espécies alimentícias que nascem no espaço urbano e que a gente poderia colher e comer. E depois esse passeio termina com um almoço na minha casa, com essas espécies, né, preparadas. Em 2014, eu resolvi, junto com uma vizinha, assumir um espaço verde, que não era praça, era simplesmente um resíduo do loteamento do bairro, e que o proprietário, vizinho, não assumiu esse lugar, que tinha uns 100 metros quadrados, e esse espaço virou um lugar de depósito de lixo, de mato. Os jardineiros não assumiam esse lugar, e era um espaço abandonado, negligenciado. E eu, junto com uma vizinha, fizemos uma reunião com a comunidade mais próxima do bairro e chamamos as pessoas para limpar esse espaço e começar a plantar. E era muito natural que as primeiras plantas que a gente colocou ali foram essas espécies não convencionais, né? Essas espécies negligenciadas, comestíveis, e muitas das quais elas foram replantadas, né? De lugares onde elas nasciam espontaneamente e foram levadas para esse local. A gente aprendeu muito durante esse processo, porque era um local sem água, então não era uma horta urbana que você pudesse cultivar brócolis e alface, né? É uma horta urbana sem água, então ela acabou virando um horto urbano, uma pequena floresta urbana, uma ilha de refrigério, né, numa cidade tão cheia de concreto. Apesar de morar num bairro muito arborizado em São Paulo, um bairro com casas e que tem muitas praças, as praças são plantas normalmente estrangeiras, que se comportam, são florestas plantadas de forma a não ter muitas plantas alimentícias. E nesse espaço que a gente começou, chama Horta City Lapa, eu comecei a levar plantas que eu tinha em casa e fora as que eu encontrava, né? Que eu pudesse fazer mudas. Praticamente não mesmo, não compramos nenhuma muda, foram todas plantas ganhadas, espécies que eu fiz muda e passei para lá. Então, hoje a gente tem, mais ou menos, nesse espaço, umas 50 espécies em 100 metros quadrados. Eu não posso dizer que a gente tenha grande produção de alimento nesse local, mas funciona quase como um showroom para plantas que conseguem se desenvolver sem água, ela só com água de chuva. Então, a gente em São Paulo fica mais ou menos 6 meses de estiagem, né, sem chuva, e aos poucos a gente foi havendo uma seleção natural de plantas que resistem a essa secura de inverno. Então, hoje a gente tem plantado lá algumas plantas exóticas, né, de outros lugares, então plantas mexicanas, plantas do Sudeste Asiático e as plantas nativas de outros biomas. Então, hoje a gente tem lá pé de urucum, sabugueiro, pitanga, cipó de alho. Eu acho que a tradução, não sei como vai ficar a tradução desses nomes, que eu vou só falar os nomes, né? Mas eu acho que alguns vai dar para traduzir. Então, tem cipó de alho, que é uma trepadeira, jurubeba doce, que é um mini tamarilho, folha de curry, louro, limão macrute, galanga, hibisco, tamarilho, banana, rosa, cúrcuma, araruta, garupá, moringa, erva baleeira, ipê, canela, pândano. Então, essas plantas são plantas que sobrevivem, que não precisam de cuidados, não requerem cuidados, e a gente evita, como é um espaço aberto, a gente evita plantas rasteiras. Então, claro que tem ali algumas plantas rasteiras, principalmente plantas silvestres, então, dente de leão, tem flores pequenas, mas basicamente são plantas grandes que não ficam rasteiras, para que também não tenhamos problemas com animais, né? Cachorros e gatos que passam pelo espaço. Mas é um espaço aberto, a gente encontrou muita resistência das pessoas, não foram todos os vizinhos que apoiaram, muita gente achava que a jardinagem do bairro deveria ser feito, era um trabalho da prefeitura e não dos moradores, e que aquilo não era exatamente um modelo de horta, como eles estavam acostumados, então não poderiam chamar de horta. Então, a ideia, a nossa resposta era, se não é uma horta, se você não consegue enxergar isso como uma horta, enxergue como um jardim de utilidades. E aí havia gente que dizia que para jardim estava de péssimo gosto. Então, assim, a gente teve umas reações negativas, mas a maioria das pessoas sentem muito prazer em visitar o lugar, em mostrar as flores para as crianças, em apresentar as flores as plantas comestíveis, em reconhecer. Tem gente que vem de longe para conhecer a horta, para pegar mudas, para conhecer plantas que não são fáceis de encontrar em outros lugares. E assim a gente vai tocando. Recentemente tivemos uma ação de um piromaníaco que tacou fogo na horta. Chegou uma mulher, chegou com uma garrafa de álcool e jogou álcool na horta e ateou fogo. Então, nós perdemos a metade, assim, um quarto da horta de plantas, algumas plantas grandes já, mas, felizmente, isso aconteceu na época da chuva, então as chuvas já vieram aqui em São Paulo, então eu já replantei muitas outras plantas e enfim, a horta continua. E está prosperando, com muitas flores de sabugueiro, com a folha de curry toda frutificada. E assim, eu acho que é uma forma que eu encontrei de fazer a vida na cidade ser mais simpática e mais agradável, né? E que com a horta os vizinhos passaram a se conhecer mais, pessoas que não saíam de casa, hoje saem para colher alguma erva, alguma folha de louro, que seja, na horta. Então, a gente se encontra mais nesse local, que ficou muito mais aprazível e torna a vida na cidade um pouco mais humana e próxima dessa conexão com a natureza. Então, eu convido a todos, quando estiverem em São Paulo, vierem a São Paulo, quando a gente puder voltar voltar a viajar, que visitem a nossa horta, será um prazer mostrar e compartilhar dessa experiência. Acho que deu meu tempo, né? Não sei, eu não marquei aqui, mas é isso que eu queria dizer. Se alguém tiver alguma questão, estou aqui à disposição e reforço que é um grande prazer estar com vocês todos. Obrigada.
Thank you very much, Neda. It was really a pleasure to listen to your words. Also because completing the menu that Anna started to offer us, but also because you highlighted a crucial topic, the one that might be that urban food forest or urban food cannot, say, complete or respond to all the needs of food in cities, but a very strong cultural, educational, and demonstrative role. So this is quite important message to take. So thank you again, Nede, and we go to the last speaker. And so we cross the world again, and we go to India with Gaurav Guriar. Sorry for my pronunciation, Gaurav. Gaurav belongs to a tribe of shepherds in the Marwar region of India. And with his organization, Maruvan, is responsible for restoring the native forest by integrating them with living spaces. So we are very, ready and curious to listen your words, to listen your experiences. The floor is yours, Gaurav.
Thank you, Fabio. Namaste. Hello, everyone. I am Gaurav, and I come from Thar Desert of Rajasthan. You might have heard of Jodhpur city. It's a very touristic city, well known among tourists. So I come from that city. And what we have been doing, our experiments, they were started with, like my journey started with getting into permaculture. And then I did a permaculture design course, and then I grew different forests. And currently I work for a company as a jungle tree expert called Love Forest. And we are into basically restoring potential natural vegetation of the region. So potential natural vegetation is the vegetation which was here before human intervention. And if we stop human intervention, the vegetation that will be here after 200 years, 300 years, that is the potential natural vegetation. So when we started our experiment at Maruvan in the desert of Thar, we restricted ourselves to strictly using native species and not to use any exotic or introduced species in our forest. And once we started growing these forests, we basically realized how different tribes, how the tribes of the region have been surviving for millions of years. Thar Desert is a desert which is basically one of the most living desert. Like it's in terms of population, in terms of culture, in terms of animal life which exists on this land, is much more compared to any other desert of the world. My talk or my what I am saying will be much better understood if I show you some pictures. So I'll share some pictures, and then I'll quickly skip if the session if that section is not relevant, because apart from food, we are trying to integrate life in the forest, and which has been integrated in these tribes where I come from. Though I come from a tribe, but I can't say I am a shepherd, because of all my upbringing has been a very conventional schooling. I've done my engineering and then moved to, I don't have any botanical or any study background in biology or in plants. All my learning have been in like experiential. I've traveled to remote parts of India, learned with different shepherds, tribes, and natural farms. So this is the land, just to give you an idea, where the tree density is less than 1 tree per acre. So this is a desert land where our site is situated. It is sandwiched between two rivers, which are seasonal river, and the entire landscape that you see, entire groundwater that is existing on this land is saline. So no animal can drink that water. You can't give it to normally to plant because that plant will die. So all of that, before growing a forest, a lot of work has to be done, like in terms of having that much water that we could grow our forest. So this was the land that we started with. These are some old remnants of the trees which used to exist here. This photo is from a site, like right now where I'm sitting, and this is the same site where world's first tree hugging movement took place. So 363 people laid down their lives to protect trees. And if you just Google Chipko Andolan of 17th century in Rajasthan, this is the same place. This tree is from the same campus where those people who saved trees are buried. We had around 200 cows on our campus. We don't milk them. These are abandoned cows. We just keep them for like grazing on the grasslands, and we are trying to develop grasslands and use their cow urine and cow dung for our like growing our forest as a manure. This is me standing with a bucket full of seed balls that we started with. These are some of the books, local literature, local folk poems, which we read to understand how culturally, like this tree has prose and poems, which says like which bird visit which trees and all that kind of stuff. These are some water harvesting structures. We dug our hand dug well to kickstart our forest. This is how that well looks. And these are some of other structures. These are some of the other materials that we started using from forest to make our fence, to make our shelters. So all of these things are coming from the forest. We are making ropes. We have not used any single metal or wire to like everything was local, coming right from the site itself. These are some of the plant pigments. These are the thatches that we created using the forest materials that we had around us. These are the seed balls that we started making. The moment we realize that these trees that are local and that are native are not available in any nursery, so we started collecting these seeds. These are some more seeds. Many of them are edible. In terms of food, we have completely forgotten. Like when we talk about fruit forest, we like it comes to mind that we are growing a forest of mangoes, oranges, and guavas. But to a region where we are, so these were the real foods of this region, which are no more grown because they are not bred for transporting. Like all the mangoes and oranges are bred for transporting. So these have very low shelf life. These are some other seeds that we started collecting. This is our seed bank that we have in the like native species of Thar. These are some very interesting, like all these are different species of wild cucumbers. We collect them, we store them, and because there was always a scarcity of food and water, and that is the reason the tribes here have evolved ingenious ways of food preservation and seed preservation, and we are just learning from these people and trying to. So these are wild mushrooms and wild watermelons that grow in our area. We collect them, we process it differently and keep it. Like if even if you come to any village house in this region, you will find them stocked up till 2 years of food, because all their life they have been trained to survive like this. This is again some wild food. If you and some other berries and pods that we collect from the wild, we store it. There's a specific process, and we can basically store it for several years. And right now at Maruvan, we are stocked up for 2 years of food without doing any farming, just collecting all these foods at right place. So these were the relevant sections. Otherwise, we have done a lot of architecture work and other things. We have worked on water harvesting structures of this place, which has basically given us this possibility to grow this forest. This is our pond. The water collected in this desert region, and these are our dogs fishing for the first time. We had fishes in our pond for the very first time. And just to link up the coexistence, when we had this water, there were like a lot of birds, migratory birds, which came filled with fishes in their mouth, and they dropped these live fishes in our pond so that when they multiply, they can come and feast later on. So again, so this was basically, these are some biodiversity pictures. We have termites, we have snakes, we have so first termites damaged our plants, then there were these desert gerbils, the rats that you see here. They came, they balanced out the termites. When the rats peaked up, we have few snakes, and now we also have peacocks to balance snakes. And so there's a whole cycle in last 2 years which has basically balanced. And these forests, we are harvesting food, we are harvesting timber, we are harvesting our structures, we are harvesting medicines, and it's also a coexistential space for all the species, not just humans. By these, what we have basically realized is, if there is coexistence, so abundance and resources on the land is basically byproduct of the coexistence of all the species. And in the end, these are the real people. I'm just telling the story. These are the actual people who have been doing these things. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be there on the project.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. I think is well, I cannot say is you completed the picture, because the picture is never completed, but give more highlights also in terms of what's happening, not exactly in urban center, but even in other areas that are in any way related to the cities, and also introduce the aspect of water that is central again in all our discussion and all our thoughts. And finally, I think that you all gave a wonderful perspective of what bioculture represents in our contemporary life, in our contemporary experiences, as urban people or as rural people, doesn't matter. I think that we do not have so many questions at the moment. I just want to, before going to see something about the questions, to thank the wonderful graphics that is running with our words, with our discussion, made by Marcello Petruzzi, and I think we have to thank him very, very much to give this nice picture of the discourses that we developed during this session. And I hope to have a copy of this and put in my room as a painting. So about the questions, there was a question already answered by Neide about the size of the urban forest of Sao Paulo and the productive capacity from the urban forest of Sao Paulo, and that is the answer is 100 square meters. That's right. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. I think there are no other specific question. There's also a proposal from Italy to develop the urban food forest, but I think that we can take care of that in the next days, in the next steps. And so I think that we can go to the link for the future videos of the forum. In the chat, you can get the links to go to that. And I think there are no more issues for us. Maybe 2 words for each as a take-home message, just very briefly, 2 words, not more. A key word for each one of you. so to say hello to everybody. So, Licha, a keyword from Venezuela.
Sí, bueno, agradecer la oportunidad, también maravilloso conocer todas estas experiencias con las compañeras, los compañeros que han compartido el día de hoy. Y bueno, decirles que este renacimiento de los bosques urbanos es una oportunidad para construir, para hermanarnos, y que, bueno, tal vez desde Venezuela a veces la comunicación nos afecta. Yo en este momento estoy comunicándome desde Caracas, pero mi espacio natural de trabajo es Mérida, donde las comunicaciones en este momento no están muy fluidas, pero estamos allá a la orden para propiciar, en cuanto podamos dominar esta pandemia, las experiencias de intercambio directo, para vivir en directo lo que es esta recuperación, esta regeneración de estos bosques urbanos, esta diversidad que estamos creando, esta posibilidad de vida diversa por la que estamos luchando y con la que estamos trabajando con tanta firmeza. Entonces, gracias a Low Food por darnos esta oportunidad, y bueno, seguimos en contacto, dispuestos al trabajo y a la creación. Gracias.
Thank you very much. One word from Poland, Anna. It's muted.
It's okay?
Yeah.
You said 2 words, so I
One
say
word.
1? No, 2.
Okay, 2 words.
I say 2 words. I say 2 words. One is culture, the other is nature. And the problem of the contemporary agriculture and consumption is that we divided them apart. Culture is against nature, and our work should be done to make it closer, to make culture connected with nature. Culture, I mean agriculture, okay? Just these 2 words.
Thank you very much. I always
Thank
say
you.
in my presentation that nature is culture. So that's perfect to me.
For me
Thank you
too,
very
yes.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Neiden, 2 words from Brazil.
Olá, só reforçando o meu agradecimento de estar aqui com pessoas tão maravilhosas, e é que um dia a gente possa se encontrar pessoalmente, e que a gente não perca as esperanças de passar o que a gente sabe e o que a gente acredita para as novas gerações. Eu confio na nova geração. É isso, obrigada.
Thank you very much, Neide. Next generation. Gaurav, 2 words from India, and then we close.
Yeah, I would like all my learnings, like what I have been doing for like last 8 years, it just boils down to this statement, which is like abundance is the byproduct of coexistence of all the species. Like if we could develop these coexistential habitats for all the species, we'll be living in the abundance, and all the scarcity that we see is a very manufactured scarcity, and it is a perception of scarcity because of the disconnection from the real environment, the real surroundings that we have. So yeah, that's it. Abundance is byproduct of coexistence.
So thank you very much to all of you. I think the message you gave is wonderful, and it's very proactive for the next future. And so I think that we can thank all together Slow Food and Terra Madre about this opportunity we had, and we live, and hope to see you next time very soon. Ciao.
Sure.
The future of our planet is decided at the table, in our daily food choices. What do we know about what we eat? How do we choose? Where do we buy it? You can make a difference, and contribute to a future where everyone has access to food that is good. Eating must be a pleasure for everyone. We all have a right to food that is healthy, natural, fresh, and seasonal. Clean. Being aware helps us to choose food that is good for our health and the health of our planet. Fair. Knowing our food means making choices that are fair to us, to the producers, and to future generations. Slow Food has been working for over 30 years to defend biodiversity and fight the climate crisis by promoting good, clean, and fair food for all. Support slow food. Let's act together for the common good. Go to donate.slowfood.com/en and follow us at terramadreselunadelgusta.com.